Hello and welcome to Croft. We're here this weekend for the penultimate round of the BRSCC Porsche Championship. The weather is threatening to throw everything at the drivers again this weekend, so an already closely fought championship could prove even more interesting as race 1, 2 and 3 get underway this weekend. But first, with a roundup of the championship so far, here's Richard John Neal.
It was Brands Hatch last time out. Pole position went to Ed Hayes, but there were major dramas at the bottom of Paddock Hill Bend first time for the man who qualified second, Gary Lawrence. He thankfully recovered. Rick Styron leading in the early stages, but he was to be penalised due to a false start. It was Ed Hayes who came through to take the win. There were dramas in the 924s as championship leader Adam Croft wound up on the gravel, the win in that class going to David Jones. David Jones there in the red 924, and on to race number 2. The Boxsters getting stuck in once again, and some frenetic action. Andy Hack, a very handy competitor in the championship. Great to see him back, and he had a ding-dong in the early stages with Rick Styron, who this time got the start right and went through to lead. Hack managed to throw it away at the bottom of Paddock, held it well to be fair, and came through. Adam Croft was racing hard in the 924s and chasing Nizar El Chamar, who would come through to take his first ever win in the 924s. The racing was absolutely superb though, as ever. Andy Hack sadly wound up in retirement, and Richard Styron was being reeled in by Richard Avery, who ultimately threw it away at Druids the hairpin, leaving Styron to take the win from Ed Hayes and Gary Lawrence. And as we said, 924's going the way of Nizar El Chamar. So the championship like this: Hayes from Southgate and Lawrence, Richard Avery 4th from Nick Hull, Jason Flegg in 6th, then Andy Hack 7th from Gary Goodwin, Rick Styron and James Coleman 10th. In the 924s, Adam Croft could be a potential champion this weekend. Alistair Kirkham 2nd from Carl Rossin, then Phil Waters, Nizar El Chamar and Hugh Peart in 6th. Race 1 of 3 here at Croft. Pole position goes to Richard Styron from Adam Southgate, then Richard Avery and Ed Hayes. Nick Hull on row 3, followed by Gary Lawrence, then Philip Grayson and Angus Archer. The 924's headed by Adam Croft, Linda Warren alongside, then it's Carl Rossin and Alfred Piesinger. Nizar El Chamar completing the grid for the 924's. Alfred Piesinger in a newly built 924, but away we go. Well, there's problems for Ed Hayes, who stalls on the line, the championship leader. So drama here at Croft on the start. The championship leader stalls, but meanwhile the race leader's going down into Clervaux, and it's very close indeed. There's a light tap here and there. Gary Lawrence is up into 2nd. Rick Styron leads, door handling Nick Hull and Richard Avery. Hull on the outside line has got the position, so Hull's going to have a look down the inside for 2nd place as well on Gary Lawrence, the newly betrothed Gary Lawrence. And those of you who watched our last meeting at Brands will know what I'm talking about. And Lawrence under pressure here from Nick Hull, who's having a very good run on the outside line. This is mightily impressive. Rick Styron leads, but here's Nick Hull's done it. He's through into 2nd place, but runs wide into town, leaving the door open. Gary Lawrence is there. Adam Southgate in 45 is going round the outside of Lawrence. Richard Avery up the inside. We've got Adam Croft leading the 924s at the moment in red from the red and white of Carl Rossin. Rossin, the nearest challenger to Croft, who is here this weekend because Alistair Kirkham. Oh, and what problems there for Nick Hull. Hull goes wide. Adam Southgate up into 2nd place. Richard Avery is there in 3rd. My goodness me. Now, was that Nick Hull disappearing off? I think it was Nick Hull disappearing off the circuit, so we'll see whether he rejoins, but it's Richard Styron, the leader, goes through. Here is 2nd, Adam Southgate, Richard Avery, then it's Gary Lawrence. So all drama here on lap number 1 of round 17 of the Toyo Tyres Porsche Championship. 2 races, of course, for the price of 1. We've got the 924s in action as well. I was starting to tell you that Alfred Piesinger is driving a brand new 924, blue one written off at Cadwell, and Nizar El Chamar, who was last on the grid due to having his crash helmet and hands device stolen from his hotel overnight. So I hope they catch the perpetrators, and we wish Niz, all the very best for this race. Of course, he took his maiden win at Brands Hatch last time out, but the race leaders down through Clairvaux and Hawthorns once again. Ed Hayes is making some good progress. Here is Ed, and has caught Angus Archer, Nebworth-based driver. Archer taking him fairly wide. Is there going to be room on the outside? You can see how wet it is. And a gyration there for Gary Lawrence. Nick Hull goes through. So Gary Lawrence fires it all up, gets it going again. Phil Grayson goes through on his inside. So Lawrence third in the championship, 281 points. Southgate, of course, ahead of him on 306. And Ed Hayes has got an awful lot of work to do here to get back. Gary Lawrence is only 2 cars in front of him now. There's the number 70 of Angus Archer in front. And Angus with the yellow square black cross, which indicates he's a newcomer to racing. Croft from Rossin at the moment in the 924s. Flash past as well. 924s which have been running since 1992 when Remy Bopp won the championship, Richard Lloyd winning it in 1993. The Boxsters are a relatively new concept. First championship in 2010 when Dave Clark won it, and he successfully defended the title the following season. So Ed Hayes is making progress after that problem on the start, and the wet conditions, of course, may well afford issues for other drivers throughout the course of the race. Seem to have had a few of these this year. Of course, there was some monsoon conditions at Zandvoort that the drivers had to contend with. There's Phil Grayson in 44 up ahead of Gary Lawrence, but it's Richard Styrin still out front. These guys come down into the hairpin, the last corner on the 2.1250 mile circuit here at Croft. And down the straight, Gary Lawrence chasing hard. There's a terrific view across the circuit to the start-finish straight. Adam Croft still out front at the moment. You can see that the white and red car is Carl Rossin. He's in second place at the moment. Rossin always there or thereabouts in terms of podia. So he's running well at the moment. We've got Alfred Piesinger, who is right behind him as well. Alfred, you might remember racing in the blue car earlier on in the season. He's a welcome returnee to the championship this year. So Rick Styrin goes to Ed Hayes, passes Gary Lawrence. Now has Gary Lawrence got a problem? Lawrence is keeping it tight, but Ed Hayes goes past. That's crucial for the top 3 in the championship. Phil Grayson looking all sideways there as well. Very, very difficult conditions here at Croft, as you can see. And these guys, and Lady Racer, of course, because let's not neglect Linda Warren, who's in the race as well. Remember, took a podium last time out. So Linda running well in the championship, 7th place in the 924 class. And this is Linda's home round, comes from Harrogate, as does the championship leader Adam Croft. Now Ed Hayes is still making progress and goes past the 44 car of Phil Grayson. So this is good stuff from Ed Hayes. Gary Lawrence is going to try and follow through. Grayson raced in the production Boxster class, which we've only seen one driver out in so far this year. Lawrence makes the pass, very neatly done, passes Phil Grayson. He's going to try and chase after Ed Hayes. Hayes holding on to position, still Rick Styrin out front. Adam Southgate and Richard Avery chasing, so we're looking at the scrap for 4th position here. And Phil Grayson getting back on the case, has a little look down the inside, nothing doing there. Got to be a little bit careful because of these wet conditions. And coming through the complex and now up towards the hairpin once again. Richard Avery showing a good turn of speed. There is Adam Croft, the championship leader. Crofty here, who's had a fair few bottles of wine over the course of the season, courtesy of his sponsor and the sponsors of the Fastest Laps, Fine Drinks Cooperative, in association with Aldering Wines. And here's Linda Warren and Nizar El Chamar. Nizar starting at the back of the pack, as we said, had to miss qualifying and got himself sorted out with replacement kit. So meanwhile, this is Adam Southgate, 2nd position. There's Rick Styrin going through, and Adam Southgate goes through as well, but it's through the gravel. Clouts the tyre, gets back on. Richard Avery here will sniff 2nd position. That was actually a good recovery from Avery. Now, how much momentum has he lost? Has he knocked anything out on the car? He's still in second position, but what wasn't a battle is very much a battle now. But look at the rear end of Avery's car. He was well fired up, and the back end wants to come around. So Avery and Southgate squabbling over second place. Here they come. Here's the view from Tower. Richard Styron through. Now, I'm sure Richard won't mind me saying that these two guys are the ones that are scoring the big points here. Richard Styron joined the championship too late to be in contention, and that's Nick Hull off. Nick Hull is off. And in the tyre wall, is that going to bring out the safety car? That's down at turn 1, Clervaux, so he's gone straight on there. Nick Hull, who's been doing so well this year, off the circuit as we continue to watch the battle for second position. Adam Southgate, who started on the outside of the front row, dicing hard with Richard Avery, who started immediately behind him, and they're going to resume this battle after this short break. Welcome back to Croft Circuit. Well, you haven't missed anything because we've still got Adam Southgate in second. Richard Avery is there following, and Southgate had that trip through the gravel before the break, and you can see that Avery is well on the case now. We know that Richard Avery can drive well in the dry. We know he drives superbly in the wet as well. We saw that at Brands Hatch, and he's really putting the second place driver under pressure at the moment. Now, I was saying before the break, he's going past. Now has Southgate got a problem? He seems to be very slow indeed out of the hairpin. Meanwhile, Gary Lawrence and Ed Hayes having a superb scrap for fourth place, and Lawrence has gone through, so Gary Lawrence takes fourth position. Ed Hayes, championship leader, down to fifth. Across the line they go. Now, I said Richard Styron leading the race, and the double champion coming back mid-season, proving that he's lost none of his form. He wasn't race rusty at all, jumped straight in, started winning. But I'm sure he'd forgive me for saying that the likes of Richard Avery, Adam Southgate, Gary Lawrence and Ed Hayes, of course, although they're second, third, fourth and fifth, they're the ones that are fighting over the championship points, because Richard Styron very much out of the championship, having joined late. So this is Gary Lawrence then, third place. He's got a 9-point gap over Richard Avery at the moment, and Avery's ahead of him, so Avery's going to close in on those points. Ed Hayes is going to drop a few here. The 924s, incidentally, because of the number of starters, they'll get half points for this round, so it's going to be 12.5 points for the win. It's going to make it harder for Adam Croft to try and seal the championship this weekend. But if Adam can do it, of course, he will. We've got Alistair Kirkham not racing. He's Adam Croft's nearest contender in the championships. Carl Rossin is racing. Now, of course, the other thing, although Crofty won't score many points, or as many as if it was a bigger grid, it means that Carl Rossin won't score as many either. So effectively the gap could well go up, and we could see Crofty take the championship title this weekend. But what a great race we've got on between these two drivers. I think the circuit is drying slightly, and it's Gary Lawrence still in fourth position up ahead of Ed Hayes. Phil Grayson's running in sixth. Angus Archer is in seventh. We saw Nick Hull sadly retiring before the break. We've still got all of the 924s in action. Gary Lawrence not getting too defensive as he goes up into the hairpin once again. And Ed Hayes, another Yorkshireman. Look, for a lot of drivers, in fact, this is very much a home round. But on to the last lap goes the race leader, Richard Styron, who has just lapped Adam Croft there, the red and black car, the class leader in the 924s. And we've got some 924 traffic here as well coming up. Nizar El Chamar and Linda Warren still engaged in battle, and Nizar manages to pop down the inside of the 42 car of Linda Warren, and they've got some squabbling Boxsters. Oh, and Linda sadly takes a spin. I think Nizar had got past anyway, but maybe having a look in the mirror's mind on perhaps on other matters, but she'll come back and claim the fifth place points. Gary Lawrence is going to claim the fourth position points for the Boxster class, up ahead of Ed Hayes by the look of it, but it's still slippery out there, and at the moment I can tell you that Richard Avery is lighting up the timing screen with fast sectors as Richard Styron comes into the complex for the last time. It's a good lead, it's not a huge lead, but it's a reasonably healthy lead at the moment for Styron, who comes out, he's not going to make any mistakes, and comes across the line to take the checkered flag and win once again. So Styron, there's Richard Avery in second, and Avery gets the fastest lap on the last lap of the race. Here's the scrap for 4th position. And it's Gary Lawrence still hanging on from Ed Hayes. These two have had a wonderful race thus far. They're heading down towards the complex for the last time. You can see the control building in the background of that shot. Into the hairpin we go. And it is going to be Gary Lawrence who's going to take 4th place. Let's just watch that back end doesn't go too far around. That's the case. It's Adam Southgate ahead of these lads in 3rd position. And there is 4th place going to Gary Lawrence then from Ed Hayes. Phil Grayson will take 6th place, and there you can see the red and black 924 of Adam Croft. Nizar El Chamar, incidentally, getting fastest lap in the Porsche 924s on lap 9 of the race, so Nizar will take a little bit of comfort from that. But here's the result for the Boxsters. Richards 1 and 2, Richard Styron from Richard Avery, Adam Southgate is 3rd from Gary Lawrence, then it's Ed Hayes and Phil Grayson, Angus Archer, Nick Hull non-finisher. 924 win once again to Adam Croft. Alfred Piesinger in 2nd ahead of Carl Rossin, then Nizar El Chamar who got the fastest lap, and Linda Warren in 5th.
And the key in the race was the track was actually starting to dry, the sun had come out, so it was mainly about the engineers choosing the right setup, and Dave and Jordan did a great job for us. And the first lap, the guys, the teammates here, they were all having a bit of action with each other, and we managed to get a gap. Then Richard Avery, who loves these conditions, as it was drying out, he started to charge after me, and luckily we managed to hang on.
The qualifying was really wet. I enjoy it when it's properly wet and not kind of drying when it's you've got kind of stable conditions. So I qualified in 2nd place. There was about another second or so in the car, I think, looking at the data, so we could have challenged Rick for the pole, but it was still tight, only 3/10 between us, and I was really happy with how qualifying went. As for the race, it was changeable conditions as we seem to get all the time in the Porsches, so it was wet but dry. So starting 2nd, me and Rick had really great launches, kind of the 1st gear launch, and then the gearbox wouldn't select 2nd gear. So I lost the synchro at Cadwell as well this year, and it went here as well. So I dropped right to the back of the pack, and the first lap was really just a fight back through.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it was going to dry up actually for the afternoon, and then again there was a massive downpour just before we went out. Wasn't quite as wet as in qualifying, but obviously we'd had the practice of those conditions in qualifying, so it was good. I enjoyed it. The car felt absolutely brilliant, to be honest. It was just I just felt like I could really push it. Managed to get away from pole, built up a bit of a gap, and then tried to just control it as the track started to dry up a bit.
Race 2, pole position Richard Styron by virtue of the win in race 1. Then Richard Avery, followed by Adam Southgate, Gary Lawrence, Ed Hayes, Philip Grayson, Angus Archer and Nick Hull. In the 924s, Adam Croft from Alfred Piesinger, then it's Carl Rossin and Nizar El Chamar. Linda Warren completing the grid. Lights are on, a little bit of creeping, but I don't think anything too noteworthy. Richard Styron makes a great start once again from pole position. Gary Lawrence on the outside line. Richard Avery 2nd. Adam Southgate's in 4th. And looking up the inside, but tags the back end of Gary Lawrence going into Clervaux. And there's a knock-on effect into Ed Hayes and Nick Hull, who's in the wars once again. And that's a very battered-looking car for Gary Lawrence. I think Nick Hull continues. There's Linda Warren in 42, chasing Carl Rossin. Carl Piesinger is in behind. And that is very definitely going to be a safety car at the very, very least. Nick Hull making progress through the 924s. It looks like his car is okay, but it's Styron from Avery. Southgate, Adam Southgate running in 3rd. And you just saw it was totally inadvertent, I'm sure, but a tap on the back end of Gary Lawrence. That caused a chain reaction. And that sort of thing can happen here at Croft. You're going from a very fast start down into... There's the tight corner behind, which they're all trying to get in. That's a very bent and buckled Boxster for Gary Lawrence, and let's hope that the boys can get the car out for race number 3. So meanwhile the race continues and we go in car with Nizar El Chamar. Took his first ever 924 win at Brands Hatch. We didn't get the chance to catch up with him, unfortunately, at Brands Hatch, but of course we offer our congratulations to him, and he's in his borrowed kit now, so the trials and tribulations of a racing driver looks pretty cool at the moment. So Nizar here looking to pick up win number 2 of the cruise, coming into the complex here, and there's confirmation that we've got the safety car. So, and Ed Hayes coming into the pit. So there are a few cars involved in that. Now, is Ed... This is probably a good time to pit because the boys might be able to just look the car over and get him out before a lap is lost. But we're looking at the race leader, Richard Styron. There is the reason for the safety car. Gary Lawrence, the man from Leighton, buzzard, and his car is going to take no further part in this race as the field go through under the safety car. Well, the safety car lights are now off, and it's Richard Styron, who's done this a few times before, I can tell you, and he won't have any problems leading them away and making this restart count for himself. He's a very modest man, Rick Styron. You heard him saying that he put his win down to the engineers and the setup, but of course you've got to drive the car as well. Nick Hull's having a little nibble there at Angus Archer. I'm not sure who's supposed to be in front of whom there, but it all seems pretty equal as they cross the line, so I'm sure the stewards will be happy about that racing. Both Nick and Angus very fair racers, but it's Rick Styron who's got away well, as we said he would. Richard Avery second. Third position is Gary Lawrence. And Nick Hull working hard to try and get past Angus Archer. Nick looked very quick indeed in the wet. It was such a shame that he had that retirement there. But Richard Avery chasing Richard Styron at the moment. So, as with race one, Richard Styron away, and we're going to be concentrating, I guess, points-wise as we get into the tail end of the season on the guys that are scoring the points. And Richard Avery here is a good few points behind Ed Hayes and Adam Southgate in the championship, but some good scores here are going to stand him in good stead going into the last round, the triple header at Silverstone. Isn't it fascinating that the last race of each meeting, when we have a triple header, is a reverse grid? So the championship outright could come down to a reverse grid race, and that's going to be nail-biting for everybody in the paddock, and also, of course, all of the race fans that come to watch our racing. Ed Hayes is back out, so he's running and hoping to pick up some points to defend that championship lead. I guess the good news for him is that the level of entries, and of course with Gary Lawrence out, he's going to pick up a few more points here in this one, despite that pit stop, but he is still running, which is good. So it's Richard Styron leading, Richard Avery second, Adam Southgate running in third place, and running a little bit wide there was Adam Southgate. As I said, probably totally inadvertent, but I suspect that the clerk of the course may well take a look at some video evidence of what happened and possibly apportion blame there. So we'll wait and see how the end result plays out. But in the meantime, of course, we'll watch how things are running here on circuit. Styron the leader, Richard Avery there in white and green second, and Nick Hull sadly is a retiree once again. Bitter disappointment for Nick Hull. Here's Richard Avery. We'll rejoin the race in just a few moments. Welcome back to Croft for round 18 of the Toyo Tyres BRSCC Porsche Championship. And we're looking at a battle between Phil Grayson, who's chasing Angus Archer. There's Grayson in 44, moves up from the production class that he raced in last year. Angus Archer up ahead of him at the minute, and these two are going to score some pretty healthy points in this race if they both get to the finish. We've had a number of retirements so far, sadly. Gary Lawrence out of the race. Linda Warren, sadly, is out as well. We saw Nick Hull pulling up before the break. And Phil Grayson having a good go here at Angus Archer, coming into the hairpin. There's Nizar El Chamar, who leads the 924s, looking for his second win in the category, having won at Brands Hatch, fourth in the first race here at Croft. And Nizar running well, changes down, second gear at the hairpin. He's got Adam Croft behind him. Crofty here is maybe being a bit crafty and thinking about points. No, he's not. He's going for the win. Crofty up the inside and having a good look here. Croft didn't get fastest lap in race number one, but he's certainly going for not only fastest lap but also the win. He could just be thinking about nursing it here and perhaps gently working his way towards the title, but he's got no thoughts like that at all. He's all over the back of Nizar, and you can see Carl Rossin back in third position in red and white. Then we've got Alfred Piesinger, the top four 924s all together. Extremely close racing between all of them. Then we've got Ed Hayes, who's behind them as well, hoping to come through. So Ed won't want to interfere with this battle, but this is an absolute corker, isn't it? So Nizar El Chamar is out front, but Adam Croft looking at the outside line coming up into Tower, and I don't think that's doable. He was having a very good look, maybe possibly go for the cutback. He's got to be wary of Carl Rossin in the mix as well. Alfred Piesinger, we've got a Boxster in the mix as well, and what we can watch here is how Ed Hayes picks his way through these cars. He's managed to pass Alfred already, and he's got Carl Rossin in front of him now. So we'll see whether Carl, who's based in Bedford, well, Carl wants to get on with his race with Adam Croft, doesn't he? The red and white car chasing the red and black machine. So Boxster V924s. Ed Hayes will be a little bit frustrated, but these guys are having their race. Rossin goes wide. Ed Hayes is going to come through on the inside line, and his next target is going to be Adam Croft. This is difficult for Ed Hayes because he won't want to affect the battle for the lead here of the 924s. He knows that these guys have got their own championship standings. Nizar is 5th in the table. Adam Croft, the championship leader. And I think here Ed Hayes is showing some good respect for these guys. He'll maybe now try and floor it down the straight and get past them by the time to get to Clervaux. The extra power kicks in, passes Croft, goes past Nizar El Chamar as well, and that was very deftly done by Ed Hayes, who is on here, I think, for a 5th place finish. So Ed Hayes, hats off to him, deals with the 924 battle, and we can sit back and enjoy Nizar being monstered at the moment by Adam Croft. Several drivers from Harrogate. Of course, Nick Hull comes from Harrogate as well. And here's Nizar. Look at that. Fantastic shot through the chicane. Quick look in the mirror to see where Adam Croft is. And Nizar's going to take a lot of satisfaction from this drive. From 4th on the grid and holding off the championship leader. But is he? Because Crofty's got his nose in front, but it's the outside line coming up into Tower. And Nizar knew there that he had the line. And Adam Croft wasn't going to do anything stupid, and he tucks back in, and he's going to have a look at the tighter line here as they go through the Jim Clark S's. And he's still in 2nd position. We've got a great scrap on for 3rd in the 924s as well. This is wonderful racing. If you want to come and join us racing, there are 924s available. This is the 24th year of this championship. And still some great racing. Alfred Piesinger dives down the inside. Look at him locking up there. Nizar's getting away. Adam Croft 2nd. Carl Rossin's now in 4th place, and Alfred Piesinger dives down. That's a brand newly prepared car Alfred Piesinger's got, and he's a returnee to the championship. So we get drivers that stay with the championship, stay with the class. We get drivers that move up through from the 924s into the productions, into the full race Class A cars, and we get drivers that rejoin us after many years, which is what Alfred did. Carl Rossi bang into the side of Alfred Piesinger on the hairpin. Alfred won't be too happy about that, and again, I'm purely unintentional from Carl Rossin. He just went for the dive, and that brand new car got clouted in the side at the hairpin. So such a shame. We've seen a fair amount of contact here, but all of it inadvertent. Well, two main things really, wasn't it? It was Adam Southgate going into Gary Lawrence earlier on, and it looks like a problem for Phil Grayson. That's going to leave Angus Archer in 4th position. So Angus Archer in 4th place. This is going to be a very good result for Angus, and I think his best result took 6th place at Alton Park and 7th position in race 1, so he's going to improve on that. But Richard Styron will take another win. He's got the fastest lap, so he's going to pick up the Fine Drinks Cooperative in association with Aldering Wine's fastest lap. Adam Croft's got that in the 924s, although it's still Nizar El Chamar leading the race for the 924 class. But here is Rick Styron. Now, is he going to be able to make it a hat-trick this weekend? We have got the reverse grid race to look forward to, so he's going to have a tad more work to do in that one. But the ever-modest Styron still out front and has got a good lead. It's Richard Avery still 2nd, still within his sights to be fair. 3rd place is Adam Southgate in the 45 car. So Richard Avery here closing down on Adam Southgate in terms of the championship points, but it's Richard Styron into the hairpin for the last time. Now have a quick look in his mirrors, and the TF Motorsport car is going to buzz the pit wall to salute his engineers and the team to take the win. Rick Styron wins round 18 of the championship. It's Richard Avery crossing the line in 3rd, up ahead of Gary. Now here's the battle for the 924s, and Adam Croft is trying to go round the outside as they come into the complex. He's trying for it. Well, he could bin a potential championship win here. I beg your pardon, that was at Tower rather than the... I got caught out there by the view. That was at Tower. But here we go, in car with Nizar. That's great news, actually, because it means we've got more corners to do. So Nizar still the leader. We go back to Richard Styron, who celebrates from Richard Avery, and then Adam Southgate in behind. Now, how is the 924 race going to pan out? Well, it's Nizar El Chamar. Here he comes then. He's going to pick up a second 924 win in the 21 machine. The man from Teddington, Adam Croft, still has not given up at all and he's chasing hard. He's going to look at the inside run down into the hairpin too far back. Goes for the racing line. He might see if he's got enough momentum out of the hairpin to make the pass. But I think Nizar's done enough here. It is the sprint to the line. Nizar El Chamar crosses the line, takes the win, a second 924 career win for him. Adam Croft edges closer to the championship, but it was Richard Styron winning fastest lap. Richard Avery second, Angus Archer gets third. It was an exclusion for Adam Southgate for that first corner incident, so Archer third, Ed Hayes in fourth position. Nizar El Chamar wins the 924s from Adam Croft and Alfred Piesinger. Carl Rossin excluded for the contact with Alfred.
No, sadly, after one lap the safety car came out, and when I got to the first bend I see Gary's car's in an awful mess, and we could do with as many cars on the grid as possible. That's a real shame. And then I've noticed that Nick's off over there, so I don't quite know what's gone on, but it did make life a bit easier for me. And then Richard Avery was driving ace again in second, and he looked like he was having a battle with Adam Southgate, so we're really chuffed because we had the success ballast in and he needs to look after the car a bit more.
Bit of a change from yesterday's wet conditions. Bit processional like yesterday as well, you know, following Rick. Still couldn't chase him down. Obviously there was a pretty bad accident at the start of that race. Shame really, because three guys, you know, they're repairing them now, and I think one of them was disqualified for the race. But yeah, mine was, I just got away, to be fair. I was just chasing Rick down. Didn't manage to catch him. Had Adam Southgate behind me, fair bit of distance off of us, but yeah, it's fairly straightforward race really.
Well, I was just trying to concentrate basically on just keeping my line and making sure that he stays behind and trying to go as quick as possible. The trick is to try and defend, but also try and go quick, because if you defend too hard, you're just going slow and slower and slower. So I was just trying to, you know, keep him behind, but also keep attacking.
Well, you had it down perfectly, so congratulations, well done on that win.
Thank you very much.
The third and final race, the reverse grid, sees Ed Hayes on pole position, and then Angus Archer, Richard Avery row 2 with Richard Styron, then Phil Grayson, Nick Hull, Gary Lawrence and Adam Southgate. In the 924s, Alfred Piesinger starts on pole with Adam Croft, then it's Nizar El Chamar and Linda Warren. Carl Rossin will complete the grid. Lights out and away we go. Unusually, the championship leader coming into the round starts on pole after disappointment in race number 1, but he did get the car home to the finish, hence the pole position. Richard Styron already up into second position in this reverse grid race. Richard Avery following him again in the green and white car. Gary Lawrence, wonderful work by the team to get Gary back out, and he's in fourth position ahead of Nick Hull. Then it's Angus Archer. Angus with that podium from race number 1, that's going to fill him with confidence. He was on for a fourth place finish in any case, but the judicials putting him up onto the podium, so he'll be, well, not happy about judicials, but happy to take the podium. And here comes Gary Lawrence, who's in a very determined mood, and through on the inside and up into second place. Wonderful racing from Lawrence. Now, is he going to go wide on the exit of Tower? Richard Avery's trying to fight back on the inside, and we won't know till we pick them up whether he's hold on to it. He has, but Richard Avery's looking up the inside line. Hasn't quite got the speed to do it. So that was Gary Lawrence. Look how the squabble over second position is allowing Richard Styron to get away here. So Styron's away and down the road, but what a superb fight we've got on for second place here with Gary Lawrence. An amazing lap. He's gone from having that car virtually binned in race number 2. They've worked miracles on it. They've got it out in a very quick turnaround. There's Nick Hull, who's been in the wars in this one as well in car number 5. And if you're looking at this is affordable Porsche racing. And if you want to find out more, check out the BRSCC website, brscc.co.uk. Or you can Google BRSCC Porsches for the standalone site. There are cars available. You can hire a car and have a go, have a try at it for next season. Maybe if you're quick, get in for Silverstone for our last round. But it's a 3-tier championship. The 924s, which is the originating class in the championship, started in '92. We've got the production Boxsters, and then we've got the full race spec Boxsters, which you see here. So Ed Hayes busy chasing down the third place car of Richard Avery at the moment as they come down into Clervaux, and thankfully an event-free start in this one, the third race. But it's still Richard Styring out front from that 4th position on the grid. Gary Lawrence with a brilliant start. Lawrence here looking to take a decent result after that disappointment in race 1. And Ed Hayes all over the back of Richard Avery here for 3rd position. Welcome back to Croft, round 19 of the championship. Gary Lawrence there in blue is 2nd in the race. Rick Styring leading. It's Richard Avery in green who is in 3rd place. Then it's Nick Hull followed by Adam Southgate. And hats off to Adam, took his medicine like a man. He's back out on track. And the medicine being the exclusion from race number 1. Nizar El Chamar trying to go through the field. And there's Alfred Piesinger. You can see the battle-scarred 18 car. Battle scarring due to the lunge from Carl Rossin down the inside. Carl Rossin has taken his medicine like a man as well, and he's back out in this race too. So hats off to the 2 guys for coming back out and continuing to play. But it's Adam Croft leading in red, and Crofty here, if he takes the win, will secure, by my calculations, the 2015 924 championship. Nizar El Chamar is still chasing him. Carl Rossin, of course, still racing. We've got Linda Warren in action as well in the 924s. But Richard Avery now has got past Gary Lawrence. So Avery in 2nd position. Gary Lawrence is in 3rd. The 2 teammates, both from Leighton Buzzard, and have been a very welcome addition to the championship since last year. Very quick drivers and 2 great characters. And they're enjoying the chase at the moment for 2nd place. Meanwhile, we go back to the 924s. Nizar still 2nd. Alfred Piesinger in 3rd place, and here's the view from Nizar trying to chase down champion elect. We won't say it too much because the curse of the commentator can often come and bite, and Nizar is chasing Adam Croft though, so Crofty with 2nd position in race 2. The win in race number 1. Took the fastest lap in race 2 as well. Nizar getting fastest lap in that one. But as you can see, Adam Croft coming under big pressure here. So the 924s, as ever, providing some good battles. And Nizar's going to have a look here. You can see how he locks up. He's fighting it hard as we go in car with him. Now this is into the complex. Turns around very tightly and then runs down into the hairpin. But we're going back to Nick Hull and Adam Southgate involved in battle. Southgate all over the back of Hull at the moment. He can't find a safe way through. He won't want to do another nudge. Southgate, remember, 2nd in the championship coming into the meeting, trying to find a line up on the inside. Meanwhile, we've got Gary Lawrence back into 2nd place. So Lawrence ahead of his teammate once again. Avery down to 3rd. Richard Styring away and down the road. Fastest lap for Styring on lap 2. 1:36.752. Averaging just under a shade, literally a shade under 80 miles per hour. Here they come across the line again. So Lawrence from Avery. Now these 2, of course, fighting amongst themselves. They'll know that Rick Styring will pick up winners' points here, but also they know that they're fighting for championship positions. Lawrence and Avery 3rd and 4th coming into this event. Avery looking a lot happier, I've got to say, on the damp track. Gary Lawrence looking better here in the dry, and there was only, as I said, 9 points between the pair coming into this round. Lawrence with that non-finish in race number 2. That will most likely be one of his drop scores. Now looking back and thinking about it, that will be one of Lawrence's drop scores because it's his only retirement of the year so far. He's been so consistent, Gary Lawrence, and if we look, I think he's the only driver here that started and finished every single race up to coming into this meeting. And talking about finishing, is that going to be a finish for Adam Southgate? He's in the gravel, but he's got momentum and manages to rejoin. So Adam Southgate rejoins the track. Southgate retired from round 1 at Alton Park. He's had 3 retirements this year. Oh, and Nizar goes wide. Is he going to go into the tyres? Oh, that was, well, I'll tell you what, a spin was better than hitting the tyres. He's across the track at the moment. That could have been nasty. Here's the recovery from Nizar. Looks in the mirror. All good drivers are going to do that. Here's the replay. Hawthorne corner. Goodness me, that is a scary moment, because the last thing you want to do is wallop the tyres. He did have that spin, but as I say, the gyration's going to be preferable to a wallop in the tyre barrier. So Nizar will continue on, and that will have handed second position in the 924s to Alfred Piesinger, with Adam Croft still leading it. But here is Richard Styrin, the race leader, getting into some backmarker traffic. Carl Rossin and Linda Warren engaged in battle at the moment, and Rick just trying to pick his way through. Goes past Carl, manages to get through and past Linda as well. Carl Rossin's going to try and overtake Linda Warren at the moment. Those two having a really good scrap over fourth position in the 924 class. So good race between the pair, and now closing down on them, Gary Lawrence and Richard Avery. Now it's side by side for the 924s. It opens up a little bit. Carl Rossin looked in his mirrors there. You could see that. Good driving from Carl Rossin. Saw that Gary Lawrence was coming through. Left the door open for him. And the same for Richard Avery. Now, Linda Warren is up ahead. So Carl Rossin there. Fair piece of driving for him. Obviously, we're going to see the Boxster passing the 924 down the back straight, down towards Tower. Now, Richard Styrin's got a lead, but second and third are still keeping him within their sight. So Gary Lawrence second, Richard Avery still in third position. Those two having a real good old scrap. And Avery's having another look, isn't he, at his teammate. He wants to try and go through. And I dare say he'd like to have another nibble at Richard Styrin out front if he could possibly do it. But it's Gary Lawrence still hanging on to this at the moment. Terrific racing between the pair. Carl Ross is trying to catch up with Linda Warren again. Linda's running fourth in class. And I think we might possibly see Nizar El Chamar shortly be lapped as well. Well, for the moment, it looks like Gary Lawrence has responded in the 93 machine. Points-wise, is he going to overtake Adam Southgate in this meeting? He was a very, very strong scorer on gross points before deductions were made. Remember, a driver will relinquish their worst scores, and effectively Gary Lawrence was being punished because his worst finish was, I think, 9th position at Rockingham, with no non-finishes. But now he's had a DNF, which I know financially he wouldn't have wanted. That will bite and give us a more perhaps realistic score on dropped scores when we look at the table. But here's Rick Styrin on his last lap, who's going to take a hat-trick of wins. First hat-trick since his return. It was 2 wins and 4th at Cadwell Park, 4th and 1st at Brands Hatch, and by the look of it, a hat-trick here on home tarmac at Croft for the 99 machine. So Richard Styrin, I hope he can be persuaded to come back for a full championship campaign once again, see if he can maybe go for a treble. I know the other drivers would welcome the opportunity to beat the man who's been the form driver in this championship over the last few seasons. But there he is, still got a great battle going on for second. Gary Lawrence and Richard Avery. I wonder if they could have taken the battle to Styrin. Styrin still with the fastest lap. Nizar El Chamar is going to get the Fine Drinks Cooperative fastest lap for Porsche 924. But Rick Styrin here, well clear. It's going to be a hat-trick for him as he comes into the complex for the last time. Decent lead, no backmarker traffic to have to deal with here. It's Adam Croft still leading the 924s, and I think we'll go back to Adam because there's a story there in terms of the championship. And it's going to be a Styrin buzz off the pit wall. His hand is out of the window, acknowledging the team and the officials, and indeed the race fans here. Look at the battle for second place. It's so close between the pair of them, but here is Adam Croft, the champion-elect. We've got Ed Hayes behind him. Ed's a couple of laps down, but still running for the points. There's the celebration for Richard Styrin, with Richard Avery right behind him. It was Gary Lawrence that took second position, but Styrin the winner. Gary Lawrence in second from Richard Avery, Nick Hull fourth from Angus Archer, Adam Southgate in 6th, and Ed Hayes in 7th. Philip Grayson, sadly, non-finisher. Adam Croft wins and takes the title. Alfred Peasinger second, Nizar El-Chamar third from Linda Warren and Carl Rossin. And many congratulations to Adam Croft.
I'm just elated, to be honest. I mean, let's say win number 10 of the season. It wraps the championship up for the 924 class. That was my aim at the start of the season. You know, come in, have fun. I had a couple of bruising years in the Boxsters. I wanted to come back, enjoy my racing, and have a tilt at the championship. And to have finally done it is absolutely amazing.
Well, you've certainly made your mark on the 924 Championship. Congratulations. So, what are your feelings going to Silverstone next month?
I think just go and enjoy myself at Silverstone now, no pressure, and just have a great last race. But I'd just like to take this opportunity to say a massive thanks to my sponsors, Fine Drinks Cooperative and Champagne Warehouse, and also the guys that prepared my car this year, Tony McQuinski and Fudge from Victoria Motorsport. Done a brilliant job all year, and we've just had the pace. And finally, I'd like to dedicate this win to the memory of my old man. It's nearly 10 years since we lost him, and it's because of him that I'm doing this. So this one's for him.
Clearly quite a poignant moment for you then.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I mean, you know, he's still very much in my thoughts, and as I say, he's the reason I got into racing in the first place. So to finally get a championship under the belt means an awful lot for me.
It's absolutely amazing race. That was so much swapping places with me and Gary. Funny for me, he's my teammate as well, and my sponsor. Yeah, it's brilliant. It was. We had a couple of moments, big moments. One coming into tower, I was right behind Gary. God knows what speed we're doing. I went to touch the brakes, accidentally hit my accelerator, flew straight past him. And I was just thinking, God, whatever you do, don't turn in now. And then we managed to get around the corner. And then I think another time we swapped places again. And we had another little thing at the complex just at the end there. But yeah, it was ultimately, it was a brilliant race.
I don't know what, I've been racing for a little while in cars and bikes, and I've got to say that was probably one of the most emotional races I've ever been involved in. Not just because of what went out on track, but I had a massive amount of damage from race 2. Literally the back of the car was hanging off, and the boys, Lee, Paul, Nick, and loads of others put it together in 2 hours. It was unbelievable. I was literally sitting in the car when they were finishing it off, and we literally just about got out. So to be honest, the whole way around, it was just a case of every time I came down the straight, it was don't let the lads down, don't let the lads down.
Ed Hayes still leads the standings ahead of Richard Avery now. Gary Lawrence still in third. Adam Southgate down to fourth from Nick Hull. Richard Styron up to 6 ahead of Jason Flegg and Andy Hack. Adam Croft champion in the 924s. Alistair Kirkham still second from Carl Rossin. Nizar El-Chamar now up to fourth ahead of Phil Waters. Hugh Peart in 6th and Linda Warren in 7th.
Well, we have had another stunning weekend's action here at Croft for the BRSCC Toyota's Porsche Championship drivers. They've had everything thrown at them from the elements to each other, but they've done well to keep it on track, and we look forward to seeing them all again at Silverstone.